Here's my conclusion after listening to the just concluded Honest Bunch podcast that featured Reno Mokri. Now, I'll give it to Reno Mokri. He's 100% an intelligent lawyer and he truly understands what he's doing. Now, I see the reason why he stayed on for too long with the former president, Goodluck Jonathan Ebele. During the course of the podcast, you would notice that Reno has a way of deflecting when a question is being thrown at him. He doesn't really answer most of the questions, but he gives intelligent answers that floors the opponent. I can tell you for sure that he's one hell of a tough lawyer to deal with in a court case. Now, there are so many questions that husband material threw at him, and he didn't answer the questions directly. The first thing he does usually is make the question look like a stupid question, and then he writes on that. He was always fond of saying things like, "That's a silly question." And you know, when that statement drops in the air, you're going to be like, "Oh gosh, I just made another stupid, dumb mistake." That was the psychology he used on Honest Bunch, and it worked for him because he got away with a whole lot of things. Trust me, Honest Bunch would have been different if Nedu Wazobia was there. Reno would have had it very hot. I wouldn't really root for Nedu Wazobia, but I would tell you that he's good at what he does. He knows how to fish for the hidden agendas. He knows how to get you in the mud and do you dirty, man. But with husband material, he plays it safe. Typical. He's the guy that doesn't really want to get into any online battle, and it works for him. People are different, I totally understand. And for Daddy Freeze is a very good friend of Reno Mokri. I mean, you see how soft he was on him. He didn't throw any hard questions at him, and Reno would at a certain point tell us that Daddy Freeze knows quite a number of things that happened in his past, which means these guys, the both of them have really worked hand in hand on a lot of projects before. Yeah, that I understand. But for the Honest Bunch to truly remain a honest podcast, I think we need a level of toughness on the people that are going to attend the program. The guest speakers need to be punched honestly with tough questions. Reno had some tough questions hit him in the face, and he was good at it. They didn't really go too hard on him. Yeah, because I understand the place of trying to play it safe, and yeah. But in trying to play it safe, the show is gradually becoming laissez-faire podcast. Because I can't really tell you that what Reno said yesterday was 100% honest. Yes, I could tell through his lies, even though he was trying to be diplomatic and political about quite a number of them. But, well, he may not have lied, but he gave evidence that we are a little bit skewed and not too honest, if you ask me. But one thing I could say for sure is he has a good grasp of how the Nigerian people think, and he played it to the gallery too. But one thing I found quite shocking, I'm going to play the
They were doing it for political reasons. Bola Tinubu was brave enough to say, I don't care what people will say about me. This is wrong. Because don't forget, the money that we're using to subsidize the Naira was not money that we had. We were borrowing it. That's why, what's his name? Emefiele is in jail today. Because they borrowed 38 trillion Naira without informing the National Assembly. And what were they using that money to do? To subsidize the Naira. And let me tell you, do you know what Nigerians were using that subsidized dollar to do? If I tell you, we $200 million every year about women were using to import hair. $75 million every year, French champagne. Go and check the records. $25 million every year, Scotch whiskey. Obi Kubana and all those people. That is what we are using the money for. If we are using the money,
Reno,
if we are using the money for transfer of technology, heavy equipment for Innoson, for Nord to build vehicles, okay, then it can make sense to do it. But we were frittering away this money. Bola Tinubu took the right decisions. Look, Nigeria is not an oil-rich country. We are an oil-poor country. We are an oil-poor country. Ghana, in terms of per capita wealth from oil, Ghana is wealthier than us. Listen to this now. Ghana has 200,000 barrels per day. What is our population? Divide their population by the barrels that they give. That means that there is more. It's going to give you maybe about $200 for each citizen. When you divide Nigeria's population by our barrels per day, we get $150 per citizen. That is poverty. Look, Qatar, a tiny nation that their population is not up to a Kenya local government. They make $70 billion from oil and gas. How much do we make? We make 36 billion. And then you want to Saudi Arabia, with a population about their population is probably 35 million, so which is just going to be about maybe 15% of ours. They make about $450 billion every year. We make 36 billion. Angola is more oil rich than us. In terms of, if you look at the nations that have mineral resources, because Nigerians, entitlement mentality. Check, Nigeria is not in the top 10. Even in Africa, we're not in the top 5. Congo, DRC, they have more nutrients, more mineral resources than we have. So stop saying that's opinion. People like you are feeding the people wrong opinion. Nigeria is not living at our means. We are living beyond our means. That's why that had to go.
But Mr. Reno,
so you can see, one thing I found quite shocking is the removal of subsidy and how much Nigerians spend on subsidy. How can a whole nation spend $200 million just for the importation of hair products? Like, that doesn't really grow our economy. $75 million spent on importation of foreign champagne? Goodness gracious. Well, I gotta cut him some slack on that part, because he did his findings quite well before coming on to the podcast, and he delivered quite well on it. So I am not one that's gonna hold Bola Ahmed Tinubu 100% accountable for all the happenings in Nigeria, because he sorry to use the word he elected, but he has people working under him. The governors, the chairman, and the various ministers are working under him. They are all being paid, and no one holds them accountable when things go wrong. And we're quick to call on the president. That doesn't really make sense to me, and it's never going to make sense to me. Why is the president easily bashed when things go wrong in Nigeria, but no offices are held accountable for it? Now, Emefiele borrowed a huge sum of money, and that got him into trouble. Like we all saw, he's in prison for that, because he was trying to cushion the naira by borrowing so much money, which tanked the naira eventually. But you know that at the time when this stuff happened, Nigerians didn't hold Emefiele accountable. We held the president accountable. There are very many cases where Nigerians hold the wrong person accountable for problems in the country. I'll give you another typical instance. I saw a video of killings in Anambra State, precisely Oko, somewhere in Federal Polytechnic Oko, and people were commenting, and they were like, the governor should do something about it. For what reason? Why should the government meddle in local government matters? Why do we have the chairman there? Why do we have the Igwe? Why do we have all these traditional heads there? They have a role to play. They are being paid. Yes, they should be held accountable. The local government chairman should handle issues that have to do with his own locality, not the governor. The road gets bad in Nigeria, and the next thing we do is call on the federal government to come fix the road. And do we go as far as saying Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not doing his job. No, he's doing his job. You're just not holding the right person accountable. Now, every manner of inefficiency is being blamed on the president. I tell you what, if there is no water supply in Nigeria for the next 24 hours, we are going to call on Tinubu. But Tinubu is not the water board. He has no issue there. I think it's high time Nigerians begin to hold the right department accountable, the right ministry accountable, the right governor accountable. Whoever is being paid to do a job should do the job. We shouldn't put all the blame on the man at the top. It doesn't really make sense if you ask me. Thank you for listening, and hope to see you next time on my channel.